The massive alien ship moved slowly through the dark space near Earth's solar system. Captain Zix stood on the bridge of the stellar harmony and watched the blue planet grow larger on his screen. His 4 arms moved across the control panels, while his large eyes studied the readings. For 300 years, his people had been watching this small world from far away. The humans seemed like a young race that had just learned to split atoms and send simple rockets into space. "Captain, we are getting close to their system," said Commander Vex, his second in command. The tall, thin alien checked his instruments. "Again, their technology looks very basic. We should be able to make contact easily." Captain Zix nodded his large head. He had done this many times before. The Galactic Confederation always sent ships like his to meet new races. Most of the time, the young civilizations were happy to join their peaceful union of worlds. Earth would probably be the same. "Send them our standard greeting message," Zix ordered. "Tell them we come in peace and want to talk." Far away on Earth, Commander Jake Morrison sat at his desk in the space monitoring station in Nevada. He was drinking coffee and reading reports when his computer started beeping. A sound was different from the usual noise. Jake put down his cup and looked at the screen. Numbers and symbols filled the display. "What the hell?" Jake said quietly. He had never seen anything like this before. The signal was coming from outside the solar system. It was too organized to be natural. Jake's hands moved quickly over his keyboard as he tried to decode the message. After 20 minutes of work, Jake's eyes went wide. The message was in perfect English. It said, "Greetings, people of Earth. We are the Galactic Confederation. We come in peace and wish to establish contact with your government. Please respond if you understand this message." Jake grabbed his phone and called Admiral Lisa Carter at Pacific Command. "Admiral, you need to see this right now. We have a situation." Lisa Carter was a tough woman who had served in the Earth Defense Force for 30 years. She had seen many strange things in space, but nothing like this. 20 minutes later, she was standing behind Jake's chair, reading the alien message. "How far away are they?" she asked. "About 2 million kilometers and closing slowly," Jake replied. "They're not trying to hide. The ship is huge, maybe 5 kilometers long." Admiral Carter picked up her secure phone. "I need to call the president. Keep watching them and let me know if anything changes." On the alien ship, Captain Zix was pleased when he got a response from Earth. The humans seemed friendly and wanted to meet. They asked him to wait while they prepared their leaders for contact. This was normal. Young races always needed time to get ready. "Captain," said Lieutenant Thip from the sensor station, "I'm detecting multiple objects approaching our position. They appear to be spacecraft." Zix looked at his main screen. Dozens of ships were coming toward them from different directions. They moved fast and smooth, like nothing he had ever seen. The ships were beautiful and sleek, with hulls that seemed to shine with their own light. "Battle stations," Zix shouted. His crew moved quickly to their positions. "We're surrounded." This was a trap. The alien captain watched in fear as more ships appeared. Soon there were over 100 vessels around his ship. They were all different sizes, but each one looked more advanced than anything in the Confederation fleet. The energy readings from these ships were impossible. Their weapon systems were beyond anything Zix had seen. "Captain, we're being hailed," said the communications officer. A human face appeared on the screen. He was a middle-aged man with short brown hair and kind eyes. He was smiling and looked very relaxed. "Hello there," the human said. "I'm Captain Ben Rodriguez of the merchant vessel New Horizon. Welcome to our solar system. We got word that you folks wanted to meet with our government." Zix stared at the screen. "Merchant vessel? You mean you're not military?" Ben laughed. "Military? No. We're just a cargo convoy heading back from Jupiter. We were delivering mining equipment to the colonies out there. Most of these ships are cargo haulers, passenger liners, and a few private yachts. Nothing fancy. The alien captain felt his blood turn cold. These were civilian ships. If human cargo vessels looked this advanced and had this much power, what did their warships look like? "We don't want any trouble," Zix said quickly. "We really do come in peace." "I'm sure you do," Ben replied. "Don't worry about all these ships. We always travel in groups for safety. Space can be dangerous, you know. Pirates and asteroid fields and all that." Captain Zix looked at his tactical display. Each of these civilian ships had enough firepower to destroy his entire fleet. Their shields were stronger than anything the Confederation had. Their engines were more advanced than the best military technology his people possessed. "Your ship is very impressive," Zix said, trying to keep his voice calm. "Thanks," Ben said. "She's just a standard hauler, but she gets the job done. We've had her for about 10 years now. The New Horizon isn't much to look at, but she's reliable. Standard hauler." Zix felt sick. This ordinary cargo ship could probably defeat the entire Confederation Navy. "I've contacted Earth Defense Force," Ben continued. "Admiral Carter will be here soon to handle the official stuff. We're just here to make sure you feel welcome." Earth Defense Force. The aliens had a real military. Zix didn't want to think about what their actual warships could do. "Thank you for your hospitality," Zix managed to say. "We will wait for your admiral." As the alien captain ended the communication, he turned to his crew. They all looked terrified. The same thought was in everyone's mind. If these were just civilian ships, what were the humans hiding? What kind of monsters had they accidentally discovered? Commander Vex approached his captain. "Sir, what are your orders?" Zix looked at the display, showing all the human ships around. Them, beautiful, powerful, and supposedly harmless cargo vessels. We follow their lead and pray to all the gods that we don't make them angry. 3 weeks had passed since the aliens arrived at Earth. Ambassador Kith stood at the window of the lunar embassy, watching Earth turn slowly in the black sky. A Centaurian diplomat was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. His job was to learn about human society and figure out how dangerous these people really were. The humans had been very friendly. They gave the aliens a nice building on the moon and helped them with everything they needed. But Kith could not forget what he had seen that first day. Those civilian ships were more powerful than anything in the Confederation fleet. "Ambassador," said his assistant, a young Altarian named Pex. "The humans have invited you to observe one of their operations. A Captain Maria Santos has received a distress call." Kith turned from the window. "What kind of operation?" "A rescue." "Mission, sir. Pirates have attacked a research station in the outer system. Captain Santos is going to help them." This was exactly what Kith needed. He could watch how humans handled a military situation. Accept the invitation immediately. 2 hours later, Kith found himself on board a human cargo ship called the Lucky Strike. Captain Maria Santos was a woman in her 40s with short black hair and strong hands. She wore a simple blue uniform and treated the alien ambassador like an old friend. "Welcome aboard," Maria said. "Sorry about the mess. We were supposed to deliver agricultural supplies to the Mars colonies, but we got this distress call." Kith looked around the ship. It looked like a normal cargo vessel, but he could feel the power humming through the walls. The engines were incredibly advanced. The computer systems were beyond anything his people had built. "Is your ship equipped for combat?" Kith asked. Maria laughed. "Combat? This is just a cargo hauler. We have basic defensive systems to protect against space debris and the occasional pirate, but nothing special." Lieutenant Colonel Amy Foster from the Earth Defense Force was also on board. She was a young woman with red hair and sharp green eyes. Her job was to make sure the aliens felt safe during the mission. "Don't worry, Ambassador," Amy said. "This should be routine. The pirates are from the Vegan Syndicate. They're not very dangerous." The Lucky Strike moved through space faster than any Confederation ship could travel. Within 6 hours, they reached the outer system where the research station was under attack. Kith watched the main screen as 3 alien pirate ships came into view. "There they are," Maria said. "Looks like they're trying to board the research station." The pirate ships were familiar to Kith. Vegan Syndicate vessels were known throughout the galaxy as dangerous fighters. They had strong weapons and heavy armor. Each ship carried about 50 pirates with military-grade equipment. "Should we wait for military backup?" Kith asked. Maria looked confused. "Military backup? For 3 little pirate ships? That would be like calling the fire department to light a candle." Amy Foster checked her instruments. "The research station has 23 people on board. We need to move fast." "Roger that," Maria said. She pressed a few buttons on her control panel. "This is Captain Santos of the Lucky Strike to all pirate vessels. You are attacking a civilian research station. Leave immediately or face the consequences." The response came back quickly. The pirate leader's voice was rough and angry. "Human. Ship, this is Captain Grox of the Vegan Syndicate. This station is now our property. Leave or be destroyed." "Well, that's not very polite," Maria said. She looked at Kith. "Ambassador, you might want to hold on to something." The cargo ship suddenly accelerated toward the pirate vessels. Kith was pushed back in his chair by the force. The ship moved so fast that the stars became lines of light. "Defensive systems online," Amy reported. "All weapons charged." Weapons. The cargo ship had weapons. Kith watched in horror as the Lucky Strike's defensive systems activated. Energy. Shields appeared around the ship. Gun turrets emerged from hidden panels in the hull. The first pirate ship fired its main cannon at the Lucky Strike. The energy blast hit the cargo ship's shields and disappeared like water hitting a rock. Maria didn't even seem to notice. "Return fire," Maria ordered. The Lucky Strike's guns fired once. A beam of blue light hit the pirate ship. The vessel's shields collapsed instantly. Its armor melted away like ice in the sun. The ship went dark and started drifting. "One down," Maria said calmly. The other 2 pirate ships attacked together. They fired everything they had at the human cargo ship. Missiles, energy beams, and plasma bolts struck the Lucky Strike from all sides. The ship's shields absorbed it all without even flickering. "Their weapons are kind of weak," Amy observed. "Should we disable them or just scare them off?" "Let's be nice," Maria replied. "Disable their engines." The Lucky Strike fired 2 more times. Each shot hit a pirate ship's engine room perfectly. Both vessels stopped moving and went dark. Their life support was still working, but they couldn't fight or run away. "This is Captain Santos to all pirate vessels," Maria said. "Your ships are disabled. Surrender now and we'll let you live." The pirate captain's voice came back, sounding terrified. "We surrender. Please don't destroy us." Kith could not believe what he had just seen. A single human cargo ship had defeated 3 military vessels in less than 5 minutes. The pirates had enough firepower to destroy a small city, but they couldn't even scratch the Lucky Strike's shields. "Is that it?" Kith asked. "Pretty much," Maria said. "Now we just pick up the research station and tow it to safety." The Lucky Strike extended a tractor beam and grabbed the damaged research station. The beam was strong enough to move the entire facility, which was the size of a small moon. "How is your ship so powerful?" Kith asked. Maria shrugged. "It's not really powerful. This is just standard equipment for cargo ships. We need good shields to protect our cargo from radiation and debris. We need strong engines to haul heavy loads. And we need some weapons in case we run into pirates. Standard equipment. Kith felt his world spinning. What humans considered normal defensive systems were more advanced than the best military technology. In the galaxy, what about your actual military ships? Kith asked quietly. Amy Foster smiled. Those are much more impressive. But we don't need them for something like this. As the Lucky Strike headed back to Earth with the rescued research station, Kith sat in his quarters and tried to process what he had seen. The humans acted like this was nothing special. They had defeated 3 pirate ships and saved 23 lives like it was a normal day at work. If this was what human cargo ships could do, what were their warships capable of? Kith didn't want to find out, but he knew he had to report this to the Confederation. The galaxy needed to know the truth about these humans. They were not the primitive race everyone thought they were. They were something far more dangerous. And the scariest part was that they didn't even seem to know how powerful they really were. Dr. Helen Wright smiled as she walked through the hallways of Lincoln Elementary School in Colorado. The xenobiologist had suggested this visit to help Ambassador Kith understand human society better. She thought it would be nice for the alien to see how human children learned and played. Ambassador Kith followed behind her, his tall blue form drawing curious stares from the young students. The Centaurian diplomat had agreed to this visit hoping to learn about human weakness. If he could understand how humans raised their young, maybe he could find a way to deal with their terrifying technology. The children are very excited to meet you, Helen said. They've been studying your home world in their geography class. They entered a bright classroom where 30 children sat at their desks. The teacher, Mrs. Karen Lewis, was a kind woman in her 50s who had been teaching for 20 years. She had seen many changes in education, but having an alien visitor was definitely a first. Children, this is Ambassador Kith from the planet Centauri, Mrs. Lewis announced. He's here to learn about our school. The children raised their hands, eagerly, full of questions. Kith answered them patiently, thinking this would be easy. Human children were probably just like young members of his own species. Ambassador, asked a boy named Danny, is it true that your ships can't go faster than light? Kith was surprised by the question. Well, yes. Faster than light travel is very difficult. Only the most advanced races in the galaxy have mastered it. The children looked confused. A girl named Lucy raised her hand. But that's impossible. My dad works on the Mars transport ships. They go faster than light every day. That's basic physics, added another boy named Kevin. You just fold space around your ship using quantum field manipulation. We learned that in science class last month. Kith felt his blood run cold. These children, who couldn't be more than 10 years old, were talking about technology that his people had spent centuries trying to develop. They spoke about it like it was as simple as adding numbers. Perhaps we should move on to the science projects, Mrs. Lewis suggested. Noticing the ambassador's uncomfortable expression, they walked to the back of the classroom where students had set up displays of their work. Kith expected to see simple experiments with plants or small animals. Instead, he found himself looking at technology that made his head spin. A young girl named Emma Johnson stood proudly next to her project. She had built a small device that glowed with soft blue light. This is my fusion reactor, she said happily. My grandpa Paul helped me with some of the harder parts. Fusion reactor? Kith asked weakly. Yeah, it's not very big, but it produces enough energy to power our whole house for a week, Emma explained. I wanted to make it bigger, but Mom said it might be dangerous. Kith stared at the device. His people had been trying to build working fusion reactors for 200 years. This human child had made one for a school project. How does it work? He asked. Emma launched into a detailed explanation of magnetic confinement, plasma dynamics, and energy extraction. She spoke casually about concepts that would challenge the greatest scientists in the Confederation. When she finished, she shrugged and said, "It's pretty simple once you understand the math." The next project belonged to a boy named Alex. He had built a small robot that could think and learn on its own. "I call him Buddy," Alex said. "He can solve problems and even write poetry." The robot turned toward Kith and spoke in a friendly voice. "Hello, Ambassador. I have analyzed your language patterns and cultural background. Would you like to hear a poem about your home world? Artificial intelligence." The boy had created true artificial intelligence as a school project. Kith's people had been trying to build thinking machines for centuries without success. "This is just a regular elementary school?" Kith asked Dr. Wright. "Oh yes," Helen replied. "This is actually one of the smaller schools in the district. The children on the frontier colonies learn much more advanced subjects." During lunch, Kith sat with a group of children and listened to their casual conversation. They talked about visiting the Jupiter colonies during summer vacation. They discussed the best ways to terraform planets. They debated whether it was better to mine asteroids or build artificial worlds. "My uncle works on a terraforming ship," said a girl named Katie. "He says they can make a dead planet livable in just 5 years now." "That's nothing," replied a boy named Ryan. "My mom's company can build a whole space station in 3 months." After lunch, the children went outside for recess. Kith watched them play games with devices that looked like toys, but had technology more advanced than military equipment used by most alien races. A group of boys were playing Space Marines with toy weapons that fired harmless beams of light. The weapons had perfect targeting systems and could track multiple targets at once. The children wore simple vests that could detect hits and keep score. "These are very sophisticated toys," Kith observed. "Not really," said Dr. Wright. "They're just basic recreational equipment. Most families have them." The children divided into teams and started a complex game that involved strategy, teamwork, and advanced tactics. They moved like trained soldiers, using cover and coordinated attacks. But they were laughing and having fun, treating it like a simple game. "Where did they learn these tactics?" Kith asked. Mrs. Lewis looked confused. "Learn? They just make it up as they go along. Children are naturally creative." As the day continued, Kith saw more impossible things. The children used computers that responded to their thoughts. They worked on math problems that would challenge university students. They designed spacecraft for their art class. "How do you teach them all this?" Kith asked Mrs. Lewis. "We don't really teach them the advanced stuff," she admitted. "They just pick it up from their parents and older siblings. Most of what they know, they learn at home." At home, these children learned about fusion reactors and faster than light. Travel at home, like human families just naturally knew about such things. "What about the children who don't do well in school?" Kith asked desperately. Mrs. Lewis pointed to a quiet boy named Bobby who was sitting alone. "Bobby there is one of our struggling students. He has trouble with reading and math." Kith approached the boy hopefully. Maybe this child would be more normal. "Hi, Bobby," Kith said gently. "What are you working on?" Bobby looked up shyly. "I'm trying to fix my rocket," he said. "I built it to explore the caves on Mars, but the navigation system keeps breaking." The boy had built a rocket, a working rocket, and he was considered a slow learner. "Don't worry," Bobby continued. "My dad says I just need practice. He didn't build his first spaceship until he was 12. First spaceship. At 12 years old, as the school day ended, Kith found himself sitting in the principal's office, trying process what he had seen. The principal, Mr. George Martinez, was a friendly man who seemed proud of his students. "I hope you enjoyed your visit," Mr. Martinez said. "The children certainly enjoyed meeting you." "Your students are very advanced," Kith managed to say. "They're good kids," Mr. Martinez agreed. "Of course, they're not as advanced as the children in the orbital schools or the colony settlements. Those kids are really impressive. Not as advanced. These children who casually discussed building rockets and fusion reactors were considered less advanced than other human children." "How is this possible?" Kith asked. Mr. Martinez shrugged. "I guess it's just the way things are. Humans have always been curious about the universe. We teach our children to explore and experiment. It's natural for them to want to understand how things work. Natural. For humans, building impossible technology was natural. As Kith left the school, he knew that his mission had changed. He was no longer trying to assess Earth's military capabilities. He was trying to understand a species that gave their children the power to reshape reality and called it education. The most terrifying part was that the humans didn't even realize how extraordinary they were. They thought this was normal. Colonel Steve Harrison floated in the zero gravity of the asteroid mining station, pointing out various operations to Ambassador Kith. The human officer was a big man with gray hair and rough hands that showed years of working in space. He ran the Asteroid Mining Consortium, which supplied raw materials to Earth's growing colonies. "Welcome to Mining Station Alpha," Steve said cheerfully. "We're about 2 billion kilometers from Earth, right in the middle of the asteroid belt. This is where we get most of our rare metals and building materials." Ambassador Kith looked out the observation windows at the massive operations surrounding them. Hundreds of ships moved between floating rocks the size of mountains. The ships were tearing the asteroids apart with beams of energy and processing the materials with machines that defied belief. "Your industrial capacity is impressive," Kith said carefully. He was trying to understand how humans could build so much so quickly. Maybe their mining operations would show him their limitations. "Thanks," Steve replied. "We've been expanding pretty fast lately. The colonies need a lot of materials, and there's plenty of rock out here to work with." They entered a transport pod that took them to one of the mining ships. The vessel was called the Rock Crusher, and it was piloted by a man named Pete Thompson. Pete was in his 30s, with short brown hair and a friendly smile. He wore a simple work suit and treated his incredibly advanced ship like a normal tool. "Morning, Colonel," Pete said. "Ready for another day of rock breaking?" "Pete, this is Ambassador Kith," Steve explained. "He wants to see how we do things out here." Pete shook the alien's hand. "Nice to meet you. Hope you don't mind getting a little dirty. We're working on a big iron asteroid today." The rock crusher moved toward a massive asteroid that was spinning slowly in space. The rock was about 5 kilometers long and covered with valuable metals. Pete checked his instruments and started the mining process. "First, we scan the rock to see what's inside," Pete explained. "Then we use the drilling lasers to cut it into manageable pieces." The ship's forward guns fired beams of concentrated energy at the asteroid. The beams were so powerful that they cut through solid rock like it was butter. Within minutes, the massive asteroid was broken into dozens of smaller pieces. "Those are very powerful lasers," Kith observed. "Not really," Pete said. "Just standard mining equipment. We need them to cut through the hard stuff." Standard mining equipment. Kith realized that these drilling lasers were more powerful than the main guns on most Confederation warships. The humans were using weapons of mass destruction to mine asteroids, and they considered it normal. "What about defense?" Kith asked. "Are there pirates in this area?" Pete laughed. "Pirates? Out here? They'd have to be crazy to mess with mining ships. Our defensive systems would tear them apart." "But this is just a mining vessel," Kith said. Sure, but we work in dangerous conditions, Pete explained. Asteroid fields, radiation storms, solar flares. We need good protection. The rock crusher extended mechanical arms and began grabbing the pieces of asteroid. The arms were strong enough to crush battleships, but Pete used them with delicate precision to sort different types of metal. How do you process the materials? Kith asked. Watch. This, Pete said proudly. He activated the ship's processing system. The broken asteroid pieces were fed into massive machines that separated the different metals, purified them, and formed them into standard ingots. The processing system worked faster than anything Kith had ever seen. Within an hour, the entire asteroid had been turned into neat stacks of pure metal ready for transport. The efficiency was beyond anything the Confederation could achieve. That's incredible, Kith said. Thanks, Pete replied. The new processors are pretty good. We can handle about 10 asteroids per day now. 10 asteroids per day. One human mining ship could process more raw materials in a week than most alien civilizations produced in a year. Suddenly, alarms started beeping throughout the ship. Pete checked his instruments and shrugged. Solar flare coming in. Better button up. Solar flare? Kith asked nervously. Solar flares were deadly to most space travelers. The radiation could kill crew members and destroy ship systems. Yeah. It's a big one, Pete said casually. Probably Class X. We'll have to wait it out. The rock crusher's shields activated automatically. A shimmering barrier of energy surrounded the ship just as the solar flare hit. The radiation was intense enough to sterilize planets, but the mining ship barely noticed it. Are we safe? Kith asked. Safe as houses, Pete replied. The shields will hold for days if they need to. We might even keep working if the flare isn't too bad. Keep working. During a solar flare that would destroy most alien ships, the humans were considering whether to continue mining asteroids. How strong are your shields? Kith asked. Pete checked his readings. Oh, about standard strength. Maybe a little better than average, since we work in dangerous areas. Standard strength. The shields that were protecting them from deadly radiation were considered average by human standards. What do you mean by dangerous areas? Kith asked. Well, you know, Pete said. Radiation zones, magnetic storms, gravitational anomalies. The usual stuff you find in space. The usual stuff. Humans consider deadly cosmic phenomena to be normal working conditions. After the solar flare passed, Pete resumed mining operations. He worked with smooth efficiency, breaking apart asteroids and processing the materials. Other mining ships were doing the same work throughout the asteroid belt. How many ships do you have out here? Kith asked. In this sector? Maybe 300, Pete replied. There are dozens of sectors like this one. Thousands of ships. Each one capable of destroying alien fleets. Each one operated by humans who thought they were just doing normal work. What if you needed military protection? Kith asked. Pete looked confused. Military protection? From what? Pirates, hostile aliens, enemy fleets, Kith suggested. I guess we'd call for backup, Pete said. But honestly, I can't imagine anything that would require military help. These ships are pretty tough. Coral Davis, the mining supervisor, joined them for lunch. She was a woman in her 40s who had been working in space for 15 years. She treated the incredible technology around her like it was ordinary equipment. How's the new guy doing? Carol asked Pete. Great, Pete replied. He's really interested in our operations. That's nice, Carol said. We don't get many visitors out here. Most people think mining is boring. Your work is far from boring, Kith said. You're accomplishing amazing things. Carol smiled. Thanks. It's satisfying work. We're helping to build humanity's future in space. What if you encountered a hostile alien fleet? Kith asked. Carol and Pete exchanged glances. I guess we'd try to talk to them first, Carl said. But if they attacked us, we'd defend ourselves. With mining equipment? Kith asked. Well, yeah, Pete said. Our drilling lasers work pretty well against ships, and our shields can handle most weapons. Most weapons. The humans were casually discussing using industrial equipment to fight military forces. Of course, if it was a real emergency, we'd call in the big guns, Carol added. Big guns? Kith asked weakly. The military escorts, Carol explained. They patrol the outer sectors where the real dangerous stuff happens. Real dangerous stuff. If mining in the asteroid belt wasn't considered dangerous, what was? As the day ended, Kith found himself back on the mining station. He had watched humans tear apart mountains with casual ease. He had seen them work through radiation that would kill most alien species. He had observed industrial equipment that surpassed the military technology of advanced civilizations. I hope you enjoyed your visit, Steve said. The miners are good people. They work hard to keep the colonies supplied. They are very capable, Kith replied. Their equipment is very advanced. It has to be, Steve said. Space mining is tough work. You need reliable gear. Reliable gear. The humans built their mining equipment to be more powerful than alien warships. Because they needed it to be reliable. As Kith's transport headed back to Earth, he stared out at the mining operations. Hundreds of ships continued their work, processing asteroids and extracting materials. Each ship was a technological marvel operated by humans, who thought they were just doing their jobs. The most terrifying realization was that these were civilian operations, private companies with no military connections. If human miners had this much power, what did their actual military possess? Kith didn't want to find out, but he knew he would have to. The galaxy needed to understand the true nature of humanity before it was too late. The great assembly hall of the Galactic Confederation was filled with representatives from 300 worlds. Ambassador Kith stood at the center podium, his pale blue skin almost glowing under the bright lights. The Centaurian diplomat had requested this emergency session to share his findings about Earth. Fellow beings of the Confederation, Kith began, his voice carrying across the vast chamber. I have spent 2 months studying the humans of Earth. What I have discovered will change everything we know about galactic power. Supreme Chancellor Vort, a massive creature with tentacles instead of arms, leaned forward in his throne. Ambassador Kith, you have called us here with claims of urgent importance. What have you learned? Kith activated a holographic display, showing images from his time on Earth. The humans are not the primitive race we believe them to be. They are the most advanced civilization in the galaxy, and they do not even realize it. Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the assembly. Representative Glex of the Andromedans stood up. Impossible. Our long-range scans show basic nuclear technology and simple rockets. That is what they want us to see, Kith replied. Or perhaps it is what they consider primitive. I have witnessed 10-year-old human children build fusion reactors for school projects. I have seen their cargo ships defeat military vessels with ease. I have watched their miners tear apart asteroids with weapons more powerful than our finest battleships. The assembly grew quiet. Chancellor Vort's tentacles writhed nervously. Explain yourself, Ambassador. Kith showed them recordings of his experiences. The cargo ship Lucky Strike destroying 3 pirate vessels. The elementary school children discussing faster-than-light travel. The mining operations in the asteroid belt. These are not their military forces, Kith said. These are civilians, merchants, students, and industrial workers. If this is their civilian technology, imagine what their actual military must possess. General Krax of the Vegan Empire, a warrior race known for their military might, stood up. Angrily, You are saying that human children are more advanced than our greatest scientists? That their cargo ships can defeat our warships? I am saying exactly that, Kith replied. I watched a human child explain quantum field manipulation, like it was simple arithmetic. I saw a cargo captain destroy 3 of your ships without even raising his voice. The assembly erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted questions and accusations. Some called for immediate military action. Others demanded more information. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Lisa Carter was preparing for another meeting with the alien delegation. She stood in her office at Pacific Command, reviewing reports from the diplomatic mission. The aliens had been very polite and cooperative, but she sensed they were nervous about something. Admiral, said her aide, Lieutenant Sarah Brooks, the alien delegation is requesting a tour of our newest defense vessel. Lisa nodded. Good. I think it's time they saw what we can really do. Schedule a visit to the Defiant. The EDF Defiant was Earth's newest and most advanced warship. It had been built to protect the growing human colonies and trade routes. Lisa was proud of the ship and eager to show it off to their alien guests. 3 hours later, Ambassador Kith and his delegation arrived at the orbital shipyard where the Defiant was docked. The alien diplomat tried to appear calm, but inside, he was terrified. If human civilian ships were incredibly advanced, what would their military vessels be like? Captain Rick Adams met them at the docking bay. He was a tall man with gray hair and confident bearing. He had commanded the Defiant since it was launched 6 months ago. Welcome aboard, Rick said cheerfully. I'm honored to show you our newest ship. Kith followed the captain through the corridors of the warship. The technology around him was beyond anything he had ever seen. The walls seemed to pulse with energy. The computer systems responded to thought. The weapon systems were so advanced that his instruments couldn't even analyze them properly. How many crew members does this ship carry? Kith asked. About 300, Rick replied, though she can be operated by as few as 50 in an emergency. 300 humans controlling. A ship that could probably destroy entire fleets. Kith felt sick. They entered the bridge, where officers worked at stations that looked like they belonged in a science fiction movie. The main view screen showed space around the shipyard, with dozens of other vessels moving in perfect formation. Your ship is very impressive, Kith said weakly. Thank you, Rick said. She's designed for long-range patrol and colony defense. Nothing too fancy, but she gets the job done. Nothing too fancy. The most advanced warship Kith had ever seen was considered ordinary by human standards. What kind of weapons does she carry? Kith asked. Rick pointed to various displays. Standard defensive armaments. Plasma cannons, quantum torpedoes, shield disruptors. The usual stuff. The usual stuff. Weapons that could level continents were considered standard equipment. How does she compare to your other warships? Kith asked. Oh, she's about average, Rick said. Maybe a little better than the older ships, but not as advanced as the new dreadnoughts they're building. New dreadnoughts. The humans were building ships even more powerful than this one. General Patricia Hayes joined them on the bridge. She was a woman in her 50s who commanded the Earth Defense Force. She had been fighting in space for 20 years and had never lost a battle. Ambassador, Patricia said warmly, I hope you're enjoying your tour. Very much, Kith replied. Your military is very advanced. Patricia laughed. Military? This is just our defensive fleet. We only keep a few dozen ships, like this one, to protect our colonies and trade routes. A few dozen ships, each one capable of destroying entire civilizations. And the humans considered it a small defensive force. What would happen if Earth faced a major threat? Kith asked. We'd deal with it, Patricia said simply. Though honestly, I can't imagine what kind of threat would require our full attention. Our civilian ships handle most problems just fine. They're civilian ships. The cargo vessels and mining ships that had already terrified the galaxy. How many military vessels does Earth have? Kith asked. Patricia thought for a moment. Active duty? Maybe 200 ships. But most of them are older models. We don't need a big fleet since our colonies are peaceful and our trade routes are secure. 200 ships. Each one more advanced than anything in the Confederation fleet. And the humans thought it was a small force. Back in the Confederation Assembly, Kith was finishing his report. The delegates sat in stunned silence as he described the Defiant and its capabilities. They have weapons that can destroy stars, Kith said. They have shields that can withstand the explosion of entire planets. They have engines that can cross the galaxy in days. How is this possible? Asked Representative Thymel of the Sirius Republic. They have been advancing for thousands of years, Kith replied. While we were content with our current technology, they kept pushing forward. They never stopped improving. Chancellor Vort stood up slowly. What do you recommend, Ambassador? Kith looked around the assembly at the faces of 300 civilizations. We must establish the most favorable trade agreements possible with Earth. We must never give them any reason to consider us a threat. And if they decide to expand? Asked General Krax. Then we welcome them with open arms, Kith said. Because the alternative is unthinkable. The Assembly voted unanimously to establish immediate diplomatic and trade relations with Earth. They would offer the humans anything they wanted in exchange for peace and friendship. 3 days later, Captain Tom Bradley of the cargo ship Starlight was preparing to leave Earth for the Alpha Centauri colony. He was a middle-aged man with kind eyes and a gentle manner. He had been hauling cargo between systems for 15 years. All loaded up, his first officer, Nancy Wilson, reported. Medical, supplies, food, and some personal items for the colonists. Good, Tom said. Let's get moving. The folks on Alpha Centauri are waiting for their medicine. As the Starlight prepared to depart, Tom noticed several alien ships in the area. They were keeping their distance and seemed to be watching his ship nervously. That's strange, Tom said. I wonder what they're so worried about. He activated his comm system and sent a friendly message to the alien vessels. This is Captain Bradley of the Starlight. Is everything okay out there? The response came back quickly. Everything is fine, Captain. We are just observing. Please, continue with your mission. Tom shrugged and engaged his faster-than-light drive. The Starlight disappeared into hyperspace, leaving the alien ships behind. On the bridge of the lead alien vessel, Captain Zix watched the cargo ship vanish. Another one of their civilian ships, he said to his crew, carrying medical supplies. Like it's the most natural thing in the world. Should we follow it? His second officer asked. No, Zix replied. We'll let it go. The humans are just trying to help their colonists. There's no threat here. But as Zix watched the empty space, where the Starlight had been, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had just witnessed something terrifying. A simple cargo ship with enough power to destroy his entire fleet, piloted by a man who thought he was just delivering medicine. The galaxy had learned the truth about humanity. They were not warriors or conquerors. They were something far more dangerous. They were a species that had turned impossible technology into everyday tools and